In my previous incarnation, subsequent to my mother's passing, my father declared that his earthly bonds had been severed and was adamant about selling our family abode to embrace a monastic life. I implored him tearfully, beseeching him to at least set aside some sustenance money for me, yet all I received in return was his callous retort: "One ought not to be overly avaricious in life." Eventually, I toiled away, combining part-time work with my studies, and achieved commendable results through my arduous efforts. However, he then presented himself before me with his 3-year-old son, imploring me to donate my kidney. At that instant, I was unable to countenance his betrayal. Amidst the altercation, he pushed me down the stairs, and I met my demise due to a ruptured spleen. When I opened my eyes once more, I astonishingly found myself back on the very day when my father was about to take the tonsure. This time I am determined to make him fathom the true essence of the concept that all 4 elements are empty and the 6 sense organs are pure. Benefactor, my earthly ties have been dissolved. As of this day, I am taking refuge in the Buddhist faith. Please return, my father intoned. Before the imposing mountain gate, my father, clad in a monk's robe, his hands joined in prayer, his eyes downcast, displaying neither sorrow nor joy, seemed to be utterly committed to his newfound path. My mind was in a tumult. In my previous life he had uttered the same words. I had assumed that the recent loss of my mother had dealt him a devastating blow, and incredibly, I had placed my trust in this heartless wretch. I entreated him with all my might, urging him to practice his faith at home. Only then did I discover that he had already sold the house. I could scarcely credit my ears. Where on earth was I to reside? Each person has their own karmic retribution. Your mother and I nurtured you for over a decade. One should not be overly covetous, he pronounced. But father, I am due to take the college entrance examination in half a year. I knelt before the mountain gate, beseeching him to assist me for just another half year. Yet he refused to see me again. I pursued him to his chamber door, and all he offered was a nonchalant statement. The world is vast and filled with nothingness. Why must you pursue vanity? My worldly ties severed, I sought solace in the flicker of monastic oil lamps, sustaining myself with humble fare to await life's quietus. Yet survival remained my sole ambition, scavenging bottles, tutoring peers, swallowing pride to avoid provoking his wrath. During famine days, a single meal sustained me. Miraculously, through academic toil, dawn broke on promising horizons. His reappearance shattered illusions, clutching a pallid boy. His mother, he claimed, showed me love's light during my darkest hours. Cosmic irony struck. The 3-year-old required a renal transplant. $2 million for your kidney, he bargained, as if trading livestock. Denial erupted into violent confrontation. His shove sent me cascading down marble steps, spleen ruptured, lifeblood pooling crimson. Cradling his heir, he exulted to surgeons. Exsanguination ensures compliance. Rejoice, Yaozu, your cure arrives. Consciousness lingered through the nephrectomy, watching my organ glisten in transplantation trays before nestling in that pampered torso. Upon discharge, the grotesque tableau unfolded. Grandparents cooing over Yaozu with Yao Li, surveying a marble-columned estate. Both bitches eliminated, grandmother crooned, patting father's arm. Decades of scheming crowned by this princeling. The Li fortune flows unimpeded, grandfather chortled, stuffing red envelopes into the child's grasp. And this robust heir secures our lineage. Indeed, Yao Li simpered. My womb proved fruitful, delivering your dynasty's cornerstone in one triumphant push. Had her maternal lineage's pedigree not held residual value, I'd have cast that wretched girl into the streets without a second glance. The revelation struck like poisoned steel. My parents' union was a premeditated stratagem, my mother and I mere expendable pawns in their vendetta chessboard. Bitter laughter tore from my throat. Monastic vows? Worldly detachment. I hissed into the incense-heavy air. This lifetime, I'll cauterize every tainted bond with cleansing fire. Ching-ching, grandmother's trembling hands restrained me. Grant your father solitude. His devotion to your mother renders him fragile in grief. Her jade bangles clinked with false sympathy. I recognized the Shasan path. This mirrored my previous life's descent, her claw-like grip identical to when she'd barred me from paternal reunion. My housing inquiry met with performative anguish. Our cramped 2-room hovel overflows with relics, grandfather demurred, reeking of medicinal ointments. Your red envelope savings should suffice for rented quarters, grandmother finished briskly. Spare elderly lungs from your youthful vigors. This indulgence serves your own good. Their retreating footsteps echoed hollow promises. Those red envelope savings? Long since requisitioned under the pretense of mother's hospital bills. Nights blurred into convenience store fluorescence and ATM booth hum. When academic fees loomed, desperation drove me to their threshold, only to confront barred doors. Not now, grandfather's voice slithered through teakwood panels, while peculiar aromas seeped beneath. cloying sweetness masking metallic undertones. Upon careful reflection now, that scent should have been the milky smell of a newborn baby. However, Grandma, I only have this one father, and you only have this one son. He's going to become a monk. What will happen to you two when you pass away? What does becoming a monk mean? It means severing worldly ties. From now on, my father will be a monk. When you two die, there won't even be anyone to keep vigil for you. You've raised my father for all these years. Surely, you didn't do it so that he could become a monk. Your father won't really become a monk. He must have been stimulated by what happened to your mother. He wants to stay here for a while. Let him stay then. It seems that this matter of becoming a monk was something they had discussed long ago. They put the blame on us and created an image of him being deeply in love with his wife. Even if he comes down from the mountain in the future and remarries and has children, people will still sigh and say that he has finally moved on. And they even tried to persuade me to agree to his remarriage. In my past life, I was busy with my studies and life and never thought about these things. When I got the news about my father, it was when he came to me with that child asking me to donate a kidney. I coldly looked at my father. The over 5 million yuan from selling our house and my mother's savings, did you really donate it all? My father lowered his eyes, looking completely calm and detached, as if he had no desires. A monk doesn't tell lies. Indeed, it was all donated. Almsgiver, wealth is but worldly possessions. Please don't be like your late mother, blindly chasing after money. In the end, she lost her life and soul, leaving only sadness for the departed. I couldn't help but clench my fists tightly. Since you looked down upon my mother's money, why did you calculate and scheme for it at every turn? Suppressing my nausea, I asked again, was it all donated to this grand Buddha temple? As if wanting to fool me quickly, my father nodded. He gave Grandma a meaningful look. Grandma forcefully dragged me downstairs. Come on, let your father have some peace. Maybe after a few days, he'll come to his senses. You're already so old. Don't worry your father anymore. Before closing the door, my father's figure was desolate, and his face was suffused with a red glow that couldn't be suppressed, looking somewhat distorted. I slightly curled the corners of my lips. Then I'll have to trouble Grandpa and Grandma in the future. I'm easy to take care of. You just need to prepare 3 meals a day for me. Grandma's face immediately changed. How can that be? My place is small. It would be too hard for you to move in. It doesn't matter. As long as there's a place for me to eat and sleep. It's settled then. I'll go back and pack my things. I knocked for a full 2 hours before Grandpa opened the door. As soon as I brought my luggage in, he kicked it over. My clothes and books were thrown all over the floor. My books were kicked away in a flurry. What's the use of a girl going to school? You don't need to go to school anymore. He rummaged through my pile of clothes and found the small box with jewelry. The restaurant at the entrance of the neighborhood is hiring. I've already talked to them for you. Go to work later. Every day before you go out, do all the chores like buying groceries, cooking, and cleaning the house. Do you hear me? He rummaged through my jewelry box and found a small gold Buddha that my grandmother on my mother's side had bought for me before. He walked towards the secondary bedroom with a smile. Grandson, come here. Look what good thing Grandpa has bought for you. Grandma no longer had her previous kind and gentle look. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and pack all your things. So clumsy. You're so annoying to look at. By the way, from now on you sleep on the sofa. Without my permission, you're not allowed to enter the room or make a sound. I'm not afraid to tell you. He pointed his finger at my nose. Your grandparents on your mother's side and your mother are all dead. Inside the room lives your stepmother and your younger brother. If you dare to harm the only offspring of our Zhao family, I'll beat you to death. Although I had been prepared, I was still so angry with these shameless people that my chest hurt. No wonder you said my father wouldn't really become a monk. My mother was seriously ill for 2 years and couldn't even get out of bed. My father pretended to be a good husband in front of others, and yet he had an illegitimate child. He's really a master of time management. My mother's funeral was yesterday morning, and in the afternoon, he sold the house, saying that he had severed his worldly ties. In fact, he was afraid that my mother's inheritance would fall into my hands. Grandma's face changed. She picked up a broom and started hitting me. Who are you yelling at? That's your father. What he wants to do, does he need to report it to you? Just like your mother, you're both ill-bred. So what if there's an illegitimate child? Your mother is dead. My grandson is a legitimate son. Yao Li can marry your father. All the money your mother left is your father's, and it's all my grandson's. You don't even think about getting a single cent. His disdainful look made me think of the time when my grandparents on my mother's side were still alive. My mother was an only child and her family was quite wealthy. Every time they came, they tried their best to bring me gifts. The gifts were not expensive but were very creative. They would carefully hold the gifts in front of me. Even if I was being naughty and threw or broke them, they would still say with a smile, my granddaughter is so amazing. She has so much strength. She has such a strong personality. Breaking things is great. 3 years ago, my grandparents on my mother's side passed away one after another. They visited less often. 2 years ago, my mother started to get sick. Every time they came, they were in a hurry. Every time we met, all they wanted was money. Sometimes when my mother didn't give it, they would scold my mother for being unfilial. Once, just after my mother got off the operating table, they chased after the chief surgeon, asking if my mother was going to die soon and how much time she had left. Now I finally understand. The marriage between my father and my mother was simply a calculation. My father was with my mother just for the money. In the last stage of my mother's life, she didn't even want to see my father. Perhaps my mother already knew about the things they had done during her illness. She was literally driven to death by them. This 3-bedroom, 1-living room house was clearly bought with my mother's money. Now I don't even have the right to sleep in a room. I stared at him. He got even angrier and rushed up to hit me harder. You little brat, you still want to challenge me? He rushed over so quickly that he didn't see the crystal beads I had casually dropped. He slipped under his feet, lost his balance and fell forward heavily. To his great chagrin, he hit his head on the solid wood sofa. I let out a terrified scream. Grandpa immediately shouted from the room. What are you screaming for? If you scare my grandson, can you afford to pay? You ill-bred money waster. If you scream again, get out and never come back. I immediately covered my mouth. Grandma was lying motionless on the ground, looking at me with a blank stare. But Grandpa didn't let me call for help, so I silently packed my things. By the time I finished packing, it had been over an hour since Grandpa came out of the room. When he saw me lying on the coffee table, writing on a test paper, he immediately rushed over and tore up my test paper. Throw all these things out. A girl like you isn't even fit to carry my grandson's shoes. What's the use of reading books? People like you are just wasting books by reading. He tore up my books and test papers and threw them all over the floor. When he finally finished venting, he finally noticed Grandma lying on the ground. He asked me what was going on. I was very wait your grandpa. Just now you told me not to call. He was furious and quickly asked the woman inside to call 120. Grandma had a stroke from the fall and couldn't move half of her body anymore. When I went to the hospital to bring her food, I happened to run into my wayward father and Grandpa talking. It's all that little brat's fault. If it weren't for her insisting on moving in, your mother wouldn't have ended up like this. Grandpa said angrily to his son. Why on earth did you let her move into my house? Couldn't you just let her fend for herself outside? My father snorted. You don't know how stubborn that girl is. If we really drive her out, she might grit her teeth and still want to study. She has a high aptitude and is good at studying. If she really studies and gets into a good school, she will eventually find out that we bribed the lawyer and tampered with the will. By then we're all done for. It's better to ruin her while she's still young. Anshinjin in the grief of her mother's death. If I hadn't heard it with my own ears, who would have believed that this was my own father? This probably won't work, my dear father. I patted the brooch pinned to my clothes. Inside it was a miniature video recording device that my mother gave me. Guess why I moved into my grandparents' house? My father's face changed drastically. He rushed over and snatched the brooch, smashing it hard on the ground and Feng Kong trampling on it with his feet. When he finally stopped, I smiled slightly. Do you know why I didn't try to snatch it back? This brooch was custom, made for me by my mother. It's small in size and fast. It always records and uploads simultaneously. Even if he crushes it into powder, it won't be of any use. The lawyer in charge of my legal aid case rushed in from outside, holding a mobile phone. The live streaming on the platform had been going on for a long time. My father pointed at me angrily. How dare you live stream? Just you wait. The young lawyer stepped forward and stood in front of me, turning the phone towards my father. Mr. Zhao, if you, like your mother, assault my client without reason, I will file a lawsuit against you. I poked my head out from behind the lawyer, smiling sweetly. Father, having an affair, having a mistress and an illegitimate child, pretending to become a monk, and abandoning your daughter is your freedom. Live streaming my life is my freedom. I understand you. You should also understand me, right? He was so angry that he jumped up and down. Abandoning? You say I abandoned you just like that? Aren't you still alive and well? Mr. Zhao, after your wife passed away, without notifying and properly arranging for Miss Zhao Qingqing, you sold the house, donated all the property to the Grand Buddha Temple, and became a monk in the temple, leaving Miss Zhao Qingqing with no choice but to live under someone else's roof, being looked down upon and insulted. Otherwise, she would have to be homeless. What's more, Miss Zhao Qingqing is not even 15 years old yet. This has already constituted the crime of abandonment. I will, according to Miss Zhao Qingqing's request, file a lawsuit against you, your accomplices, and that lawyer who tampered with the will. I smiled again. Dear father, you'd better have also tampered with the birth time of your son. Otherwise, just wait for the court notice. After leaving the hospital, the lawyer brother who provided legal aid for me helped me contact the school. In primary school, I skipped 3 grades in a row. Now I'm also a top student in the school. After learning about my situation, the school arranged accommodation for me, allowing me to study with peace of mind. The continuous live streaming caused a huge stir on the internet. Reporters went to the Grand Buddha Temple to find out the situation. Only then did the Grand Buddha Temple know that it had become a prospective defendant. They made statements through the reporters. The Grand Buddha Temple has strict requirements for accepting monks and donations. Mr. Zhao Wen merely asked for a wing room in the temple to stay temporarily. He didn't participate in any morning or evening classes, nor did he chant scriptures or observe a vegetarian diet. He often ordered large amounts of meat and had it delivered to the temple. Once, he even asked for a live fish, which was slaughtered and made into grilled fish in the temple. When discovered by the temple masters, he was almost expelled from the temple. The temple never performed any tonsure ceremony on him. He didn't truly become a monk. Even his monk's robe was bought from Taobao. Most importantly, the Grand Buddha Temple didn't receive any donations from Mr. Zhao Wen. The relevant supervision department also spoke on behalf of the Grand Buddha Temple, stating that Zhao Wen hadn't donated any money. Suddenly, all the blame was directed at my father. Reporters went to my grandmother's house and her hospital ward. Only then did they find that my grandmother's house was empty. My grandmother was still lying in the hospital ward, but she hadn't seen her family for several days, and the money in the hospital account was almost gone. They actually abandoned my grandmother and ran away. This ongoing drama continuously increased the heat. Some people chased after my grandparents' hometown but came back empty-handed. After getting the news, I specifically went to the hospital. My grandmother had woken up. She was complacent. You don't expect to get a single cent from my son. My son's money all belongs to my grandson. I smiled. Seems as if you can get a single cent from your son. I told her about the lack of money in her account. Grandma, do you know what it means when there's no money in the account? It means the hospital will give up treating you and ask you to go home. There's no one at your home now. Do you have money? Can you hire a nanny? If not, you'll have to buy groceries and cook for yourself every day. By the way, can you cook by yourself now? I sized her up. Hold on well and live a few more days. I got up and left. They say heredity runs in the family. My mother wasn't dead yet, and my father's illegitimate child was born. Do you think that before you die, my father will find another woman for my grandfather? The old lady was so angry that her face distorted. The monitoring instrument let out a burst of beeping. Her stroke became more severe. After being rescued successfully again, there was completely no money left in my grandmother's account. I didn't have any money either, so I had to take her back home. I occasionally took a video of her and posted it online, pleading with my father to give some money. Within a few days, someone posted a photo of encountering them in Beicheng. My father, with Yao Li and the child, was looking at a house. Just after paying the intention money, the house number was exposed. They were like people with a human-shaped locator. Wherever they went, they were photographed. Especially after my grandfather moved to the new environment, he liked to go to the square to dance with the middle-aged women in the morning and evening. However, while others were dancing, he was like a landlubber, making gestures behind others. His appearance added more jokes on the internet, and he was also scolded as being as despicable as my father. His wife was still alive, but he couldn't wait to seek pleasure. The continuous online heat made many of my classmates and their parents aware of the situation. Some people started to bring me some meals cooked by their parents. I reciprocated by helping them with their problems. In my past life, I was constantly anxious every day, thinking about how to get more money and where to spend the night. Now my life is calm and fulfilling. I reviewed even more diligently, waiting for the college entrance examination. Before the evening self-study one day, I was doing exercises in the classroom. Suddenly, someone informed me that there was someone looking for me at the school gate. When I went out, I was shocked to see my father. He was holding a bottle of cloudy-colored beverage in his hand. He grabbed me and tried to pour it into my mouth. I took after my mother and was petite. After being held down by him, I couldn't break free. Fortunately, there were security guards on duty at the gate and other parents who came to pick up their children. After recognizing me, several people immediately came to help. My father was completely crazy. It took 7 or 8 people working together with great effort to hold him down. It's dichlorvos. It's actually dichlorvos. Someone shouted. My family is in the pesticide business. I can never be wrong. Everyone was shocked. Some called the police, some held my father down, and others helped preserve the half bottle of dichlorvos. His face was red. He somehow took out a fruit knife. Fortunately, the security guard quickly replaced it with an anti-riot fork. His body twisted back and forth, and he brandished the fruit knife, stabbing and slashing randomly, but his eyes were fixed on me, as if he couldn't wait to get rid of me. A cold feeling welled up in my heart. From childhood to adulthood, he had actually always been very good to me. Last year, when it rained and I was reluctant to get my new shoes dirty, he bent down to carry me and said he would accompany me for a lifetime. When I was hungry in the middle of the night, no matter how sleepy or tired he was, he would get up and cook supper for me personally. So much so that in my past life, when he suddenly appeared in front of me with his son, asking me to donate a kidney for his son, I simply couldn't believe that he had betrayed my mother during her illness and betrayed our family. Now the pressure of the internet finally made his true nature show. His hatred was undisguised. He was still shouting my name. He was really crazy. He actually wanted to poison me to death in public. The police arrived quickly. After understanding the ins and outs of the matter, they immediately detained my father. Before being taken away, he was still shouting at me. I left all the money to my son. You don't expect to get a single cent. His face was distorted and ferocious, like a newly born evil spirit, completely different from the father who had once said he loved me. I don't understand how a person can have such a huge contrast. Is it just because my grandparents on my mother's side and my mother have all passed away? Or is it because I'm a girl? Why are you so rich? Why should I be the one to farm? Didn't you look down on me? In the end, everything still fell into my hands. If I had been willing to spend more time, you would have been doomed. He was like a madman, shouting and yelling. 2 police officers almost couldn't hold him down. I remained unmoved. Dad, all that money belongs to my mother. Your lawyer has been found. My mother had a will. The money and property she left, neither you nor your family members can get a share. When I returned to school, these vicious incidents had already been posted online, quickly sparking heated discussions. Under pressure, the case was brought to court ahead of schedule. Before the court session, my grandfather, Yao Li, and the child rushed back. They made a ruckus at the school gate, refusing to leave, and insisting on seeing me. I calmly attended the last class as usual. Accompanied by the head teacher and the PE teacher, I went out to meet them. As soon as my grandfather saw me, he raised his hand to slap me. You're really something. You need a beating every 2 days, don't you? Look what you've done to your father. Just like your mother, you're both bad luck charms. The woman was holding the child, crying and wailing. Anyway, that's your father. He loves you so much. How can you be so cruel to him? Hurry up and withdraw the lawsuit and release him. Otherwise, if your father goes to prison, it will affect 3 generations. What about your younger brother? She held the child in front of me. Look how cute your younger brother is. You don't want your younger brother to be called the son of a criminal in the future, do you? I almost laughed at their bandit logic. What others say about them has nothing to do with me. but I hid behind the head teacher, pretending to be in a difficult situation. This has had too much of an impact. Now it's not up to me. I picked at my fingers. Actually, at first I just wanted some living expenses to be able to survive. It's you who have gone too far. My grandfather's cheeks twitched. Suddenly, he raised his walking stick and hit Yao Li. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you always asking Zhao Wen for money, how could he have ended up like this? The woman was caught off guard. She was hit hard on the side of her waist, and she almost dropped the child. She was so angry that she turned to my grandfather. When something goes wrong you blame me, right? Why don't you say you're greedy? I wanted money but I didn't tell you to give up your own. Granddaughter, it's you who are afraid that Zhao Qingqing will fight for the property. Don't try to shift the blame onto me. In a fit of excitement she pushed my grandfather. He didn't fall but my grandfather got angry. He swung his walking stick and hit Yao Li again and again. The lawyer brother had collected comprehensive evidence. The lawyer bribed by Zhao Wen had long been found. Under pressure from all sides, he had to admit that he had helped Zhao Wen tamper with the will. My mother had long noticed my father's abnormality. She just didn't know how to tell me. She could only try her best to protect me and thus had someone make a will. She just didn't expect that the lawyer would be bribed. After the court session, Zhao Wen was convicted of multiple crimes. The malicious poisoning incident alone was enough to keep him in prison for life. Tampering with the will further exposed the worst side of his character. As for whether my grandparents on my mother's side and my mother were killed by him, no evidence was found. Zhao Wen was sentenced to life imprisonment. All of my mother's inheritance was rightfully transferred to my name. My grandfather and Yao Li wailed and cried. They rushed up to curse me, saying I had no conscience and didn't know what was good for me. I smiled slightly and looked at the lawyer brother. I would like to ask you to continue being my lawyer, and help me retrieve the money my father spent on this woman before my mother passed away. Is that okay? Certainly. You have that right. Also, regarding the portion of my mother's inheritance that was spent on this woman. Understood. The woman was completely stunned. You can't. I brushed her hand aside. I can. I looked at my grandfather. Haven't you realized yet? You are the biggest harbinger of bad luck. The lawyer brother helped me make a financial plan for my property, leaving only over 100,000 yuan in hand for emergencies. I plunged into the final sprint before the college entrance examination. When the college entrance examination ended, I could clearly feel that this time I performed much better than last time. I rented an apartment for temporary residence. On the day of moving, someone called me, saying that my grandfather was ill and asking me to go to the hospital. After I went, I learned that my grandfather had a sudden mental breakdown. A woman who danced with him was also sent to the hospital with him. The two were found in the small woods of the park. He didn't die, but his lower body couldn't move. After the rescue was successful, he held my hand and said he missed me. More likely he missed my money. I thought. I took a photo of him. After taking the photo I said to the doctor, let him be discharged. It's just a minor injury. My grandfather can pull through. He looked at me with full of anger but couldn't do anything about it. Eventually he was taken back home. The room was filled with a stinking smell. Grandma was on the verge of death, surrounded by her excrement. She looked at me with pleading eyes. I took a few photos of her too. Enjoy yourselves. Wish you a long life. She made a whimpering sound in her mouth and raised her hand towards me. I stepped back with a smile. Go find your precious grandson to take care of you. I won't give them a single cent, nor will I take care of them. Later I learned that Yao Li had run away. She was frightened by my words, afraid that I would ask her for money. Taking advantage of my grandfather's absence, she ran away with the child and incidentally took all of my grandparents' money. Now they are left without support in their old age, completely alone. They have to taste bit by bit the pain of leaving my mother in the hospital, suffering from illness alone. I want them to pay 1,000-fold price. I sent the photos to the prison and asked someone to show them to my father every day. He rattled his handcuffs loudly, cursing me for being inhumane. I didn't care. We are of the same blood. After the scores were released as expected, I became the provincial top scorer. The school and teachers held a celebration banquet for me. I donated all the scholarships given by the province and the city to build a library for the school. I have money, but I will only spend it on those who truly wish me well. When I left the school, I unexpectedly bumped into Yao Li. She was so nervous that she knelt down in front of me as soon as we met, startling everyone around. As she knelt, she kowtowed. Zhao Qingqing, please save your younger brother. Please save him. He's dying. On the day she left, she was in such a hurry that she was hit by a car when crossing the road. She thought it was nothing at first, but later she found that the child would frequently have hematuria, vomiting, and difficulty breathing. When taken to the hospital for examination, it was found that the child had congenital kidney disease and needed a kidney transplant. Now her money was used up, but a kidney source could not be found. After confirming that she was not a match for the child, she set her sights on me. You're smart and good at studying. I don't ask for much. Just one kidney. After your younger brother gets your kidney, he will surely be as smart as you and can get into a good university in the future. You'll also feel proud. Everyone was stunned by her shamelessness. Some people wanted to reason with her but unexpectedly, they saw a glint of cold light slipping out of her sleeve and desperately winked at me. I took out the medical record I had prepared long ago. I have kidney disease too. Alas, she didn't believe it. I stuffed the medical record into her hand. I just got it back from the hospital today. It's still fresh. I'm going to contact the prison and do a compatibility test with my father. No, you can't do that. She suddenly threw the medical record away, jumped up and ran away. Later a classmate asked me worriedly, Zhao Qingqing, do you really have an illness? I smiled slightly. Of course it's fake. I knew Yao Li would come to me again, so I specially prepared such a medical record. A few days later, the prison informed me that my father was seriously injured and asked me to go to the hospital. When I went, I learned that my father had been disemboweled. No sharp objects are allowed during prison visits. Yao Li used her sharpened fingernails to pounce on my father and cut open his stomach. It took several prison guards several electric shocks to subdue her. Before she fell, she also poked out one of my father's eyes. If it weren't for the electric shocks, she might have tried to take out my father's internal organs alive. The prison guards who witnessed the scene still looked scared when they talked about it. Yao Li has now been taken into custody. Running to the prison to kill someone, she's simply challenging the law. Several hours later, my father was wheeled out. His whole body was wrapped in gauze. His only remaining eye looked at me pitifully. Ching, I figured it out. The only person who has truly been good to me in this world is you, my daughter. From now on, it's only you. I wasn't good to you before. In the future, I will surely give you my whole heart. Hearing his words, I laughed. Do you know? Not long ago, Grandpa just said the same thing to me. You're really all the same. When you have no money and can't solve problems, you think of me. Believe me, Ching, I really loved you sincerely before. You haven't forgotten, have you? He remembered all the past events. I couldn't figure it out even more. If he remembered everything, how could he bear to let his beloved daughter live on the streets? How could he bear to be eager to take a kidney from my body when his daughter was in a difficult situation? How could he bear to ruin me? Now it's just that the situation forces him to yield. Dad, you once said that you were free from worldly desires and regarded all things as empty. Congratulations. You're about to achieve that soon. What do you mean? Grandpa and Grandma are almost dead. Your son is also almost dead. Yao Li will soon go to prison to keep you company. I applied to change my name and transferred my household registration to my mother's side. From now on, your household register will be clean. Your wish has come true. Aren't you happy? If one day you perform a great meritorious service and your sentence ends, you can really become a monk. No, you can't do this. Help me. Help us. We are all your relatives. He rolled off the hospital bed and knelt down to me, ignoring the pain, begging me to have mercy on them, just like I once knelt on the steps in front of the temple gate, begging him for mercy. But it was too late. From the moment you schemed against me, you were no longer my relative. However, none of this is the most important. The most important thing is I shook his medical record. Somehow, he was injured there when Yao Li scratched his stomach randomly. From now on, he may never be able to do that again. Impossible. This can't be true. He shouted in excitement. I threw the medical record to him. He grabbed it eagerly and looked at it, then shouted angrily. He probably wished he could tear Yao Li apart. By the way, the prison offered to release him on bail for medical treatment. In his expectant gaze, I continued. I refused. You don't deserve to use a single cent of the money my mother left. No, Ching, you can't treat me like this. He wanted to chase after me but was too painful to move. I looked down at him from above. I can. Yao Li was also sentenced to 20 years in prison for intentional injury. Not long after, Grandma, my father's illegitimate son, and Grandpa passed away one after another. I hired a hearse from the funeral home, took them all to the funeral home in one vehicle, and cremated them in their free incinerator. I randomly found a jar that Grandma used to pickle pickles, put their ashes in it, and sent it to my father's hospital ward. In their hearts, they were the perfect family. Now that they were almost dead, they should still be together. After losing his left eye, Zhao Wen's right eye was also affected. His vision became increasingly blurred. His abdominal cavity was severely infected. For a long time, he could only stay in bed. But because I refused to pay his medical bills, he could only use the cheapest medicine. This went on, and his condition didn't improve. The ashes of his parents and son were placed where he could see but hardly reach. The hospital ward was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard every day. Only the laughter of the children downstairs could drift up. Zhao Wen often thought of Zhao Ching. When she was a child, she was a very cheerful and lively child. She would smile innocently, stretch out her little hands for me to hold, and call me daddy wholeheartedly. At that time, all he wanted was money. He was born into a poor family. His parents were from the countryside and had a strong preference for sons over daughters. After giving birth to Zhao Ching, they kept urging him to have another son. But his wife refused to have another child. She said she wanted to give all her love and property to her daughter. He didn't dare to go against her, so he secretly gave her fertility enhancing medicine and secretly poked holes in the condoms. But Zhao Wen never expected that his wife would be so determined. She had 2 pregnancies aborted directly. She said Ching deserved the best. Whether it was out of rebellion or depression, Zhao Wen started to oppose his wife. She didn't want him to have a son, but he insisted on having one. At the same time, he also began to dislike Zhao Ching. Even when sending her to and from school, he secretly hoped that she would be hit by a car. But Zhao Ching was very smart. She wouldn't do anything stupid. Just like after the truth was revealed, with one move, she made him a pariah, successfully provoked him, and made him do stupid things. Now he could only be trapped in this small room. Before the end of the summer vacation, I set foot on the road to study. I was admitted to my dream law university. I want to work hard to be a just lawyer like the lawyer brother. From now on, I will start a new life. The end.